Let's do a recap of chapter 2. So we saw only 3 verses last week. So we said the second chapter of the Gita is what? It's a summary of the entire Gita. I explained why that particular style is followed by the scriptures. You could see similar type of approaches in other. Oh, it's out. Okay, we have the matter now. We can fix it. Just for others' sake, we were trying to locate where exactly from the beep comes in, because last Thursday we removed all the batteries and changed it. So it's outside. Okay, so you can see that style in every scriptures, not just the Sanskrit scriptures. If you go to like Malayalam scriptures or Tamil, that style of writing was there, because once upon a time you didn't have printed books. When you don't have printed books, how do you communicate the index and how do you communicate the summary? So I said, like, the first word of first chapter combined with the last word of the last chapter should give the theme of the book. That was the conventional style. I explained that with the Bhagavad Gita. Dharma plus mama. Mama dharma. What is my dharma? That is the theme of the Bhagavad Gita. So the entire Bhagavad Gita was captured in one word. And then the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is an index. What is traditionally an index? An index is you get what are all the key topics covered. That is what is the second chapter is. And the final chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is a summary, a recap. Even in modern tradition, right? I talked about various management courses. One particular course I referred was the executive presence. So in that particular course, how do they tell you to communicate to executives or any audience to that matter? You have to present in first few sentences what exactly you are going to cover, and then the rest of the presentation would focus on the major topics you are covering. At the end, you have to conclude with a summary, and in between you have to recap, especially with executives. Why? I still remember the word they used. They say, like, in between they go to beaches, because so even if you don't recap in between and highlight, because you are going there to accomplish something. So you need to make sure that in that time period, everything you need to communicate is in front of them. So even if they miss, you need to make sure that they are not missing it. And very surprisingly, that is the communication style Krishna is following the entire Gita. So you could see in between some repetition, like he is just wanted to make sure that even if you go to beach in 1 or 2 verses, you're getting it. So you could see the Karma Yoga is repeating in between. Whereas some other scriptures like Brahma Sutra or Patanjali Yoga Sutra, it is very systematic and you won't find any repetition there. But here, that repetition is not by accident. It is by design, because this is the idea. So that the style followed. Then the first 2 verses presented Arjuna in a pathetic state. But don't think that it is Arjuna. It is me too. When I am facing a battle of life, it could be a health issue I need to face, or it could be a family issue I need to face, or it could be something very serious where I don't have even a cure. There are situations in life where you don't have a cure, right? So you have to face such situations. If somebody say that the life is only cakewalks, right? No. And if somebody tells that the future is going to be a cakewalk, I would say the other way, because your age is catching up. So you'll have to face some tragedy or the other, right? You could see the loved ones are passing away and you are also sliding into that level, right? You have that sliding window protocol, right? It's a pipeline process. You are filling in the pipe. So, yeah. So you have to learn to gain that strength and you have to learn to face that situation. How can you do that? This teaching has to help you. So Arjuna is presented with a serious life situation. Now, each one of you might have gone through some tragedies in your life. So just think of, I don't want to contemplate upon that because that is going to make you depressed right now. Right, that is going to put you into Arjuna state right now, some of you. But think for a moment, the tragedy waiting for Arjuna. In a scale, magnitude of scale, if you compare with the tragedy we faced, right? All his relatives will be killed. And mind you, he has a huge attachment and affection for Bhishma. And his own son is going to pass away. So both sides, people are going to be killed in front of his eyes. And that too, it is not a natural death. He has to kill. Whether he like it or not, he has to do that. So that tragedy is awaiting, right? So a life situation is presented, which is not easy. And we heard 3 words used by Vyasa to brilliantly describe that. Kripaya avishtaha, overwhelmed by emotions. Pity, but it can be generalized as pity in particular, but generally it is emotions. When the emotions are too high, right? If the emotions are too less, that's not good. If the emotions are too much, that is also not good. So what we need, it's a balance. And 14th chapter, we will get a wonderful discussion. How do you balance everything in your life? Not just emotions. Everything you have to balance, because that balance is very much important. Nothing too much is good, not good. Right? Nothing too less is also not good. Everything has to be appropriate. So the whole 14th chapter is that discussion. So we'll see that. But right now, emotions are too much. Then that was indicated by another brilliant usage of word. It was a word painting by Vyasa. So, Ashru Purna Akula Ikshana. The tears were there in the eyes filled with tears. What type of eyes? It was described. Akula, stressed, extremely stressed eye. I said, like in Sanskrit or any Indian language, what you have to do, when you get a compound word, you have to read that from right to left. When you read that from right to left, you will get the meaning. This was a tip given to me by our Malayalam teacher. That's very much applicable in every Indian language. If you read that from right to left, you get it. This is the Santhi rule, right? All of you studied Santhi and Samasa. Yes. I'm sure it is there in Tamil, it is there in Malayalam, it is there in Telugu, it is there in Sanskrit. That's for sure. Hindi also it is there. So, Ashrupurna Akula. Then what was the third point? Vishidanta. He was extremely sad. So to that person who spoke, Madhusudana spoke these words. Remember the context sensitiveness of Vyasa. Is it like the one who can destroy attachments, obsessions, emotional dependency? He spoke these words to a person who is impacted by the emotional problem.
And the use of name also,
yeah.
Madhusudana,
right.
is appropriate because he speaks like honey.
Right. Yeah,
so
he speaks like honey. And second thing is, he can destroy, like that is the meaning, right? Madhu. He killed the Madhu.
Yes, Madhu Kaitaba.
Madhu Kaitaba, and Madhu means it is attachment, obsessions. So that's what it is. Then when I made one important observation, that's very important. I pulled up one example of this American football. When you are facing an emotional problem, a situational problem, the situation problem has 2 aspects. One is there's an emotional element and there is a situational problem. And I told you one example also. One counselor in a book, he wrote a brilliant story. A client came to him. He presented a problem and he tried to solve the problem. I'm going to make it up. It was a layoff. He lost the job. So somebody was so depressed. He came to me. I'm going to tell, okay, if you do these 3 things, they will get a job. But still she's crying. Why? She already have an emotional issue. I have to care that emotional issue, right? I have to hug her. I have to talk to her. I have to say that, okay, it's okay. Like, shed your tears. Even if I give the situational solution, without curing the emotional issue, the situational problem will not go to the head. Yeah. This is a mistake typical Indian parents make to their kids. They never address the emotional issue. They try to solve the situational problem very logically. And that won't work. When somebody is emotionally sad, when somebody is crying, you may not see the reason, but you can see that he is crying, and something he sees is making him cry. Correct? So you have to validate that. Whether it is legitimate or false, that's a different thing. But remember, you're seeing a snake, so you're afraid. I'm seeing only a rope, so I ridicule him. Why are you? That's not good, because he is afraid of what he sees. Whether he sees it correct or not, that's a different matter. So first I have to go and hug him, acknowledge him. And I said, like in a war-like situation, in an army battlefield, or in an intense game, what the coaches do, they shout at all the 4-letter words you can hear in the dressing room. Why? Just to stimulate these people. Typically, what Indian parents does, my God, that won't work. So this is another lesson we need to address. Then Krishna consoled him. He said, like, your behavior is not like an Aryan. And I said, like, this is not race Aryan, right? I quoted what exactly is the definition of Aryan used here, right? The person who does what needs to be done, and the person who do not do what need not be done, right? Tishtati Prakritachari, one who goes above the animal urges, like there is an animal in each one of us. The one who is able to control the animal passion and behave means like, what is a Prakrita and Samskrita, right? Samskrita language means what? It's refined. It's a refined language. That's it. Refined. Like Prakrita means when you get the ore, it is Prakrita form. When you Samskrita means it becomes the act. Like that, a language develops as a primitive language with some sounds and something. When you have a very structured grammar and everything, that becomes Samskrita. So from that perspective, all the modern languages are Samskrita. But that's just a point of view. But you're not demonstrating the value of an Aryan. And I quoted Buddha. All his teachings was known as Arya Satyani, right? Arya Marga. So it's nothing related to the race. Right. Means I see a lot of commentators trying to compare that as a race, which is wrong. The reason is this. So then he said, after giving him a little bit of hug, he just whipped him also once, just like the coaches do. He said, forget, means this particular attitude you are demonstrating, that is not suited you. And this is not the characteristics of a man. That means the women are not bad like that. No. He said, like, you are not demonstrating the characteristics of a warrior.
Yes.
And what is the characteristics of a warrior? He made a brilliant verse. Tyaktam hridaya daurbalyam tyakta uttishta parantapa. Cast off this weakness. You have to jump up and act. Right now, it's a critical moment of your life. This is a critical moment of your life. Imagine a batsman going out to bat on the World Cup final. That time you cannot say that I'm afraid. Right? Go and demonstrate. This is the moment you are waiting for. This is the moment you have to show your talent. And that time, because Vivekananda calls, right? Anybody can be a master. Anybody can be a wonderful person when the situations are conducive. But the person who perform at the time that is required, he is the one who is great. So do that. Look at the way this is a pep talk. This is not a spiritual solution. What Krishna did was only a pep talk. That a modern counselor, what does in the modern times, he did that. So that's why Shankaracharya or any big teachers are not considering these two verses as Gita. But I personally feel that this is very important. How he handled the situation. So now, this Nataraja Guru is a famous commentator of Gita. He's a disciple of Sri Narayana Guru from Kerala. Sri Narayana Guru is known as one of the equal to Shankaracharya. That level of knowledge. Sri Narayana Guru actually was a social reformer. He came from a backward community and he did a lot of social reforms. I just wanted to highlight such master's greatness. And at that point of time, Swami Vivekananda came to South and he came to Kerala, and he called Kerala as lunatic asylum because the caste discrimination was so bad. You won't even believe, right? They say like you cannot even see in front of your eyes. Such treating human beings as animals, not even worse than animals. Even the cat could go to a temple, but not a human being was allowed. This is ridiculous, right? This is what type of culture is that? So Vivekananda said like this is a lunatic asylum. He concluded. So and he said like this place will be recovered only if a spiritual giant comes. And true to his words, actually he said this to Dr. Palpu, a doctor, an MBBS doctor from a backward community. But since he was from a backward community, he was not allowed to practice in Kerala. So he went to Bangalore. So this was told by Vivekananda to Dr. Palpu. So Srinarayana Guru popped up, and first thing he did was nobody was allowed to enter into the temple. So what he did? He installed a Shiva and he started a temple. All the upper caste people made big issues. He said, don't worry, I initiated a backward Shiva, so don't worry about that. That was his answer. They could not do anything. And then he did temples after temples, schools after schools. He started teaching Sanskrit. He was completely fluent in Malayalam, Tamil and Sanskrit languages. He started giving lectures on Upanishads. He said that these people are, the so-called people who say that I know the scripture, they don't know. Because he used the scripture itself as a pen. At that time, another person also came. His name was Chattambi Swamigal. These two together led a social reform. And Chattambi Swamigal, he wrote a book called Veda Adhikara Nirupanam. Meaning, who can study Veda? Everybody can study Veda. He quoted the Veda and proved it. And then, I'll just tell one more story because these are in Shankara, this Narayana Guru was an ardent follower of Advaita Vedanta. So he wrote commentary on Isha Upanishads and everything. And Nataraja Guru was his disciple. Apparently, this Nataraja Guru was the son of Dr. Palpu, to whom Swami Vivekananda spoke. So Nataraja Guru came to England. He studied psychology. He started teaching in Scotland and Switzerland and England. He's a very good master of psychology. And finally, he became a monk because he thought that all the psychology is here. That's exactly what he was saying. He wrote a brilliant commentary on Geeta, which is what I was just quoting. So, this one more thing about Narayana Guru. The best temple he installed in Kerala. You know what is the pratishtha of that temple? It's a mirror. So when you go there, you are seeing yourself. He was showing the Tattvamasi. You know that, right? You all know. Suresh and Gokul, you might have also heard about Guru. I'll quote about other, means Tamil Nadu also. I want to talk about this Nayanars, that Chidambaram, a little bit later. Because the same thing happens in every state. Because the war between the Nayanars are wonderful. You have to talk about that. Karnataka also there are people. We'll talk about that. But Nataraja Guru said, right? Now, after getting that emotional counseling of Krishna, now Arjuna started making a little bit sense. He's in deep despair still, but at least he started making a little bit sense. He was able to put his arguments correctly now. Still he is depressed, but that emotional healing has happened. First thing is, he just hugged him and then he said like, this is not a behavior.
Arjuna Vacha Katham Bhishmamaham Samkhya Dronam cha Madhusudana Ishubhi Pratiyosyami Pujarha Varisudana Guruna Hatva hi Mahanubhavan Shreyo Bhoktum Bhaikshamapi Haloke Hatvartha Kamanstu Guruni Haiva Bhunjiya Bhogan Rudhira Pradigdhan Nachaitadvidmah Kataranno Gariyah Yadvajayema Yadivano Jayeyuhu Yaneva Hatvana Jijivishamaha स्थिताः प्रमुखे धार्तराष्ट्राः।
Have you listened some tune change here?
Yes.
So verse 4 was in one particular meter, verse 5 and 6 is in a different meter. So poetry by design, it's not very easy. You have to write following certain meter. So in Gita, there are 2 meters used. The popular meter is called Anushtup. Chandas, that's what we call in Sanskrit. Anushtup Chandaha. When you go to temples, these priests, when they chant, right, Vishnu Sahasranamandala, you hear, right, Anushtup Chandaha.
Yes.
So Anushtup means there are 4, means you can break this into 4 lines. If you break this into 4 lines, there are 8 characters. But sometimes in Gita, when Vyasa wanted to highlight something, when he wanted to bring your little bit attention, remember, there was no paper at that time. Right now you can highlight and you can make it bold. What he does, change the meter. So when you chant, you will notice it. You cannot but miss it. And another thing is, have you thought about poetry? Poetry, the challenge is what? Poetry is good for communicating so many things well, because the prose cannot communicate the emotion like the poetry, right? See, look at all these famous poets like Kalidasa, or even the modern times like these Kannadasan and Vairamuthu, all those people, right? Vailar, all those people, like how they write. Wow, how they can communicate emotions much better than prose. But imagine, right, the difference between this Anushtup and the other meeting, the meter is called Trishtup. Trishtup has a little bit more lines, I believe 12 letters in one quarter. When you have little bit more letters, the flexibility of the poet is a little bit more. Otherwise, what is he's constrained by the
words.
Limited number of characters to communicate what he needs to communicate, which is a problem. So, but if you put long meters, it's not good to listen also. So that's why it's a proper balance. Again, these things are not interested from a spiritual perspective, but these are some of the poetic and grammatic things in Gita.
And Vyasa also had this challenge of having a continuous flow of thought, because if he had stopped, Ganesha would stop writing.
Yeah, that's another approach
story.
is there. So there's a story, popular story say that Vyasa wanted to write this Mahabharata. It's 100,000 verses. Who can scribe it? Nobody can scribe it. So he invited Lord Ganesha to come there and scribe it. Ganesha said, I can, these are all stories, right? So don't give him more than that, right? He told, like, I can come there and scribe it, but there's one condition. You have to give me uninterrupted flow of thoughts. I don't want to sit there. You cannot think and give me a verse. Vyasa agreed. So that's not the meter he adjusted, but sometimes what happened? He twisted though, means Vyasa put a condition. You cannot scribe something without understanding the meaning. So in between he put some verses which requires a little bit of thinking from Ganesha. You'll see in second chapter also there are a few verses are there. There is a technical term for such verses. That verses requires a little bit of analysis. So by the time Ganesha analysis, Vyasa will go and have a cup of tea and come back. That is completely okay. So that's stories. There are so many stories about Mahabharata. So Mahabharata by design has 3 different versions. It started with as Jayam. Jayam has 8,000 verses, that's all. Vyasa wrote that. And then what happened? This Mahabharata was told by Vaishambhayana to Janamejaya in the Sarpasatra, right? So that became Bharata. The Jaya became Bharata. At that time, these 8,000 verses became 24,000 verses. And then what happened? Third iteration, right? Third iteration was in the forest of Naimisharanya. The Suta said to Shaunaka, all these rishis. At that time, this Bharatam became what? Mahabharata. And these 24,000 verses became 100,000 verses. This is how Mahabharata got evolved. Anyway, these are all.
But do we know which of them are
So
progression? Which 8,000 were the original ones?
no. And even in the version of Mahabharata, right, there are 3 different versions. We don't know which is correct. So there is a huge study happened. There is a Pune-based version of Mahabharata,
Buri.
right? There is a Calcutta-based version of Mahabharata,
Yeah.
and there is a Tamil Nadu version of Mahabharata, Kumbhakonam version. So a lot of scholars sat together in Pune and tried to reconcile, like what exactly, and they eliminated a few, because infiltration and penetration can happen. So these are all historic study. I'll bring these points in between because this is also interesting. These are scholarly addition, right? What happens is when you communicate, right? I mean when you wanted to when Einstein formulated his theory, let's assume that it was 500 pages. The next scientist, when he elaborated that, right, he tried to clarify that. For Einstein, means for Newton, how the calculus came into being. Newton was trying to model his laws of motion, and he needed a tool. He invented calculus. He invented the differential calculus for that. So technically you and I can invent calculus, right? If Newton can invent that, I can also invent that. But try to understand calculus by yourself. You need pages after pages to understand what Newton thought through. Like that, what Vyasa conceived needs further explanation. And even Geeta, for Krishna, it was just giving verses to Arjuna was good enough. Now we need we are commenting 4 verses in a day, right? So it needs more explanation. That's why these additions comes in. That's natural. So now let's see. So this is the English. So he tells, this is by Swami Tadatmananda and one verse by Swami Nirmalananda Giri. Nirmalananda Giri is Paramahamsa Yogananda tradition, and both have designed these verses where Swami Tadatmananda condensed this into 370 plus verses. Wherever he didn't do that, because he took the important verses only. Wherever he missed, I added that from Swami Nirmalananda Giri. So you have at least a different version. So this is, O Krishna, how can I oppose Bhishma and Drona in the war? How can I pierce with arrows sharp those who worthy of my reverence? If you read this, you'll get the meaning quickly. That's the beauty. Then rather than paying such great people, better to live the life of alms, since by killing them, I would gain their wealth and treasures stained with blood. This is very self-explanatory. Then, indeed, I cannot tell which will be better, that we should conquer them or they should conquer us. The sons of Dhritarashtra stand facing us, after whose slaying we would not wish to live. This is exactly the word meaning. I'll go to the meaning in between. So he said, Katham Bhishmam aham Sankhi Dronam cha Madhusudana Ishubhi Pratiyotsyami Pujarhar Arisudana. This is the verse. He tells, okay, your saying is correct. This is not the behavior of a army commander-in-chief. I agree with you. Krishna, what did he say? This behavior is not suited for your role. Right? You are the CEO of a company and you are crying that the stock market is going down. In the modern world, if it happens, you are not fit to be a CEO. The role demands certain skills. And if you cannot demonstrate that skills, you are not fit for the role. As simple as that. And he is the commander-in-chief of an army, and you cannot cry. That too, in the warfield. So that's, he said, I agree. Then he said, O Madhusudana. He also addressed him the same name, right? Then he said, one more time he used, Arisudana. Katham Bhishmamaham Sankhe Dronam cha Madhusudana. Okay, you tell me, I am not facing a Genghis Khan. I am not facing a, Genghis Khan story, right? Genghis Khan, right? He has a cartwheel of 36 inches. Wherever he goes, right? He bring people, those who do not have that, means the height is over that, will be killed. Thousands of people were killed. And when you fight against Genghis Khan, the opponent don't need to shed any tears. You can fight. So I just quoted that example. But here I am not fighting a Genghis Khan. I am fighting with Bhishma and Drona. By the way, in history, right? History always gives us good lessons. We need to be thankful to one Islamic ruler in India who conveniently avoided Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan has a plan to come to India. But actually, Ibrahim Lodi,
Yes.
right? The ruler of Delhi, somebody was chased by Genghis Khan. He went to Ibrahim Lodi and said, like, please help me, this Genghis Khan is killing me. Ibrahim Lodi preferred to ignore him. If he had gone, if it was a Rajput king, he would have gone and engaged a fight with Genghis Khan, then the whole India would have gone. So he tells, I am not fighting against an invader. I am fighting about with my own blood. Bhishma and Drona. And what is the characteristics of them? Pujarha Arisudana. They deserve my worship. They do not require my shots. They require my worship. And he used a name to call Krishna. Arisudana. You only fought with enemies.
Yes.
And I am asked to fight with my own. And that too good people.
Yeah.
These are embodiment of dharma.
Yeah.
Such nice people, gem of a generation. How can I fight with them? Then he said, the meter changes. Guru na hatwahi maha nubhavan shreyo pogyam paichyam apibhalogi hatwamsa kamanchu guruni haivan punjiya bhogan rudira pradiktan. Right? Guru means I will not kill my gurus. Why? They are Mahanubhavan. What is Mahanubhavan? Anubhava means experience. Mahanubhava means what? Great experience, wonderful experience. These are the treasures of our country, right? I would prefer to take Bhiksha. Bhiksha means what?
Arms.
Alms. I would like to prefer Bhiksha, or in other words, I would try to prefer a low lifestyle rather than fighting with these people. Even if I kill these people and gain the kingdom, what I would be enjoying is stained with their blood. And then he said, I don't know whether to better to conquer them or allow them to conquer me. I'm confused. I don't know what is right or what is wrong. And means those people are standing against me. I don't want to live my life if I do not see them in the future, like Bhishma or Drona. So remember, now Arjuna expresses it very logically. Now it makes very, very sense. He's explaining it properly. So he calls Krishna as Arisudana. Look at the context sensitivity of Vyasa. He tells, you killed only enemy. I'm asked to kill my relatives. So subjectively speaking, right? What did we say? I know that there are some bad habits in me. I know that there are some passions in me. There are some personality in me, which may not be dharma or anything like that. But I'm concluding. Is it worth to live? Because I may think that if those characters have gone out of me, it is not me alone. It's a different person. Why should I live that life? I don't want to kill my personality. I want to live.
Rajesh, objectively speaking though, I mean subjectively 100%, but
Yeah.
objectively 200% Arjuna is right?
Correct.
It's very hard.
Absolutely. No, even subjectively, it is right. Because I think that as a person, without that 2 drinks or without that cigarette, again, harmless example. I can go further, but without that, people always argue, right? And such people come up with good philosophy. After all, there is only one life. I told you one guy giving an example, right? For not running. So one day was asked to do exercise. So he said he did a calculator, pulled out the calculator and did a math. He said, every day you want me to run 1 hour. He asked the doctor. So doctor said, yes. So he said how many years? He said, next 10 years. Approximately, right? So it took approximate time of 10 years. 365 days, 1 hour times 10, 365 times 10, 365 hours, 3,650 hours. How much lifespan I get because of that? Maybe another 20 days or 30 days. So whatever life I get extra, I'll be on the street. Such people come with creative, wonderful arguments. Krishna answers us in the 6th chapter, right? We'll see those things at that time. But argument is correct. 100. Krishna is not saying that his argument is wrong. So Shankaracharya in his commentary, he said, Krishna didn't say whether to fight or not. He said, whatever decision you make, it has to be from a stable mind. That's all. So now, this is the arguments. So, this is the point. Just look at that one diagram. If that arguments came from that second block of mind, we would have agreed with him. Weak, anything comes out of a weak mind is not worth. I told you the example of, quoted Shakespeare the other day. This is the language of Shakespeare. Anything coming out of a weak mind is not worth. He concluded that after the famous statement of Othello. What was that famous statement? Put out the light, then put out the light. Brilliant, right? Put out the light, then put out the light. This lady was lying on the bed, so put out the light, then put out the light. Why Othello was? Why did Othello did that? Othello was a good person. Othello, by characteristics, was a good person. He killed Desdemona because of that doubt, and the decision of killing came from a weak mind or a hyper-stressed mind. So at that point of time, Shakespeare concludes that anything come out of a weak mind is not worthy to pursue. What a teaching! That's Geeta.
Yeah.
Beautifully said. So Arjuna's arguments were logical, but from what mental condition it comes out? Imagine that you are in an extremely stressful mode, you are in a very, very reactive mode. Do you think that whatever decision you make will have some value at that point of time? What is the nature of that condition? With so much of adrenaline and cortisol, your mind will be functioning in a survival mode, right? Remember we talked about the science last week. More sciences is coming. Like it is. See, you have this autonomic and non-autonomic nervous systems are there. When you are in stress mode, you are completely under the control of autonomic system. So you don't know, like the subroutines programmed in your brain for the survival instinct is happening. And I told you, I presented this as a manufacturing defect. Why? The science explains this brilliantly. Let's just take 1 minute. So, how long is the human history? Million years? How long is the civilized living? 5,000 years? Proportion is 5%. So this is programmed through the 1 million years. What is programmed, it's still influencing all your survival subroutines programmed in your unconscious mind. So that is not correct. And the evolution will fix it. It will take another 1 million years naturally to fix it. And what we are trying to do is acceleration. And that's why Darwin formulated his theory of evolution in 1857, I believe. That was the time he presented that paper. Exactly after 100 years, there was a congress in Chicago. And another scientist, his name is Sir Julian Huxley. Sir Julian Huxley, he's a British Nobel Prize winner scientist. He presented a paper. He concluded that the organic evolution is stopped with human being. Because you don't need a wings. You have the brain to create a flight, an aeroplane. So the second stage of evolution, he said, is not organic. He said it is called psychosocial evolution. It is the evolution of your psyche. ability to control your mind. See how it aligns with our teaching, right? So good. Psychosocial evolution. You can Google it. You just Google it, that psychosocial evolution by Sir Julian Huxley. Sir Julian Huxley. So the point is, Arjuna was making these arguments in a hyper-stressed mode. Argument is logical. And these arguments coming out of a weak mind. What is the definition of a weak mind? Having or showing a lack of mental firmness. That's one thing. Then showing mental feebleness or foolish. This definition coming from psychology book, not from Gita. So I just quoted that, the characteristics of a weak mind, and what Vyasa painted is a characteristics of a weak mind. So some observations. So emotional treatment of Krishna started working. Arjuna is able to articulate his problem. He is using a coherent language. That's exactly what you said. His arguments are correct. 200% correct. He is thinking even taking sannyasa. Why? Because he used a word, paichamapi. It is better to take picture. In our ancient system, only 2 people are allowed to take picture or ask for food. One is students. The other one is sannyasis. Everybody else has to earn their bread. That was our system. So the moment Arjuna indicates bhiksha, that means he's thinking of that
Sannyasa.
Yeah. And that's not the way to take sannyasa. This is called apat sannyasa. Right? The sannyasa itself is classified into multiple levels. Like one is called vidut sannyasa, second one is called vividisha sannyasa, and the third one is called apat sannyasa. Vidut sannyasa means he is full of knowledge. Vividisha sannyasa means he has not yet reached there, but he is committed to reach there. Then the third category is what? Apat sannyasa. That is what? When you get a tragedy, you go there, and there is a fourth category. What is that? He said, like, how can I fight with my own personality or habits? You only fought with demons and enemies. And finally, better to live a low quality life rather than fighting these people. So the next verse, if I pick up 18.
कार्पण्यदोषोपहतः स्वभावः पृच्छामि त्वां धर्मसम्मूढचेताः यच्छ्रेयस्यान्निश्चितं ब्रूहि तन्मे शिष्यस्तेऽहं शाधि मां त्वां प्रपन्नम्.
Now, when you are in a problem, I'll tell you one brilliant story. Swami Tadatmananda gave this story. I like that story. Like, imagine a husband and a wife is driving. Not now. Now you have the GPS and all these phones.
With a map.
With a map. I never means when I came to printouts, Yahoo Maps.
Yeah,
But
Quest.
before that it was maps.
Yes.
So imagine they were invited to a Thanksgiving party. They're going to a place, to a terrain where they are not used to be there earlier. So after they're driving, but never reaching the house. The wife thinks that, yeah, there is something wrong. No, I can figure it out. It's going on and on and on and on. You may compare these two people. There are two sets of people. One is, they are confused, but they don't realize that they are confused. Second people, what? They are confused, but they know that they are confused. So the wife is telling, like, you have to stop into a gas station and ask. The husband is not allowing. This is exactly what it is. So Vyasa brilliantly tells that, right? It's okay to get confused, but you have to know that there is a problem in front of you, and you need to realize that you are confused, and naturally, what you have to do?
Seek help.
Seek help. Seek help from a right person. These are the three messages conveyed through this verse. He tells Arjuna, maybe because of his good culture, good samskara, whatever it is, that is what is called punya. He realized now, because of that pep talk by Krishna, Arjuna realized, I am terribly confused. There is a problem in front of me. I am confused and I need to seek help. So once that is done, chances are your problem will be addressed. Now, some people never think that they're confused.
One question,
Yeah.
Rajesh. This may be moot,
Yeah.
but why did it precipitate only when he was at the battlefield, right? Because the talk of the war had been going on for a long time.
At that time, he was not confused because the situational pressure, like, it creates a problem. And why Vyasa put Geeta at that point of time is, conventionally, it was thought that Upanishads were given in a very relaxed mood, like in an Uttarkashi, Himalayan setup. Even if you are stressed, if you go there, you feel relaxed. I experienced it. So that philosophy is not good for a day-to-day life. There is a general belief. So he put that into the most stressful situation of life. So if this can be addressed. So at that point, before the war, Arjuna was intellectually thinking. The emotional aspects was not coming. Right now he know that, okay, I'm going to kill them and this is what it is. At that time only
Because it was built up over a period
of time. See, that's the problem. At that point of time, if he had decided that, it would have been a good decision. At that time, he was 100% convinced.
Yeah, but when you actually do it, it is difficult.
Yeah, actually, when you come there, and even like all these people will say, right, practice matches hit centuries. But the final of the World Cup, look at Tendulkar.
Yeah.
Just look at all Tendulkar's finals. You will see 4, 5, 3, 2. Why? He's the best batsman in the whole world. The whole world knows that. But critical time, pressure mounts. That's a point. That's a good old. I told you my story also. I was doing the one big presentation initially. Like, I could do this brilliantly. Like, when I went to the stage, nothing happened because situational pressure. So he used the word karpanya dosha. Karpanya literally means, I need 5 more minutes. Okay. Miserliness. What is miser? Characteristics of a miser. He has enough money, but like the sorrow of breaking that $20. So the pain of breaking that $20 is okay. It is much larger than appeasing your hunger. Such person is miser. So that means he has enough. The point is, he has enough resources to solve the problem, but he prefers to suffer. That unbroken note or the bill will give him more satisfaction. So Upanishad, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad clearly defines who is the real miser. Upanishad tells, you have the full ability to lead a healthy, happy, contented life. All of us. If you know your own true nature, the happiness is always within, and that ability is there. But most of you just keep it, and never experience that happiness and go away from the world. So all such people are misers. So Brihadaranyaka Upanishad tells, anybody who departs the world without understanding his nature is a miser, because he had the potential to get that infinite amount of happiness. Krishna tells in the 6th chapter, that happiness is not compared to any other happiness you are getting right now, because you are tapping the reservoir of happiness within yourself. And after all, living an 80-year-old life, going without even making an attempt, such a person is a miser. So Arjuna tells that, I have that problem. Okay, so let's conclude the verse. Arjuna tells, because of that karpanya dosha, it hijacked my characteristics. Karpanya dosha means my ability to know myself. Inability to know myself has hijacked my characteristics. Then he tells, Prischami tvam dharma sammuta cheta. I am confused with what is dharma and what is adharma. I am confused. I have no knowledge. So then he tells, Yat shreyascham nishchitam bruhitan me shishyasteham shadimam tam prapannam. I take refuge. I am surrendering up to you. What do you have to do? I am your disciple, Shishya.
Please teach me.
So please teach me. What you should teach? You should teach not to cheat the other person. What is stress? There is two words called Shreyas and Prayas in our culture. Shreyas means what?
What is
That which is beneficial to me without hurting
others?
others. Prayas means I'll be happy, but I'll be cheating another 10 people. So please teach me to that phrase, and I'm surrendering to you. Remember the background I said? Arjuna recognized a problem. Arjuna understood his inability to solve that. Arjuna understood his lack of mental stability, and he sought for help. This is very important. Even this is we need to teach our teens. They have no idea that everybody think that they can solve their problem completely. They never seek help. So understand that there is a problem. Understand that your mental condition is not a conducive condition to solve the problem. So approach somebody. It need not be you. Somebody who you trust. Buddha's famous teaching. Buddham sharanam gacchami, sangham sharanam gacchami, dharmam sharanam gacchami. Ideally, you should seek a Buddha. If the Buddha is not there, seek dharma. The scripture. If that is all you cannot understand, because scripture nobody can understand, in that case, Samkhya. So good people. And that's why you should have some good friends. I always highlight this, right? With whom we can talk openly. Could be your spouse, that's good enough. But that's very important. Because he or she may not be as intellectual as you, but when you are in that problem, your intellect is useless.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why, because you think that, hey, how can he solve my problem? I'm much intelligent than him, but in that moment your intellect is muted.
Hijacked.
Hijacked. That's what Arjuna said. My intellect is hijacked. So give me your intellect. Shishya. So there are those who seek knowledge are called into three categories in our culture. One is called Vidyarthi, the second one is called Antevasi, and the third one is called Shishya. Do you know the difference? Vidyarthi means the one who is desiring to get a knowledge. That doesn't mean that he will go and seek. That doesn't mean that he has the qualification to get study. So that's Vidyarthi. Second one is called Antevasi. Antevasi means he has the desire. He's a Vidyarthi. Plus he puts effort. He goes to enroll for a course. At least he buys the book, etc. Shishya means what?
Is it recognized?
He is qualified to receive that teaching. One who is committed, qualified. And what is the characteristics you need for a Shishya? Two, our scriptures tells. One is open-mindedness. If you go there and say that, okay, this teacher is stupid, I cannot learn anything from him, gone. Second is what? Commitment. You have to have that commitment. It's not an easy path. So that is what is Shishya. The whole Sikh religion came from the word Shishya. The Shya is not there in Punjabi, it is Gha. So what? They are really committed people unto their gurus. For gurus they will do anything. Wonderful tradition. One of the best culture in our country is Sikh people. They came from Pakistan with empty-handed and they built the whole Punjab. Wonderful. Thanks to these wonderful 10 gurus. I'll talk about these gurus in between. Right from Nanak to Guru Gobind Singh. Guru Arjan Dev, right?
Tej Bahadur.
Tej Bahadur. Arjan Dev was asked by Aurangzeb, ready to die or you change your religion and convert. He said, no. And Guru Gobind Singh's 2 children was killed in front of him. That much faith and strong, and also langar they started. The second Guru, Angad Dev, right? Anybody comes to a Gurudwara will be fed. Even Akbar came there, right? And Guru Amardas said, you sat there just like an ordinary person. I cannot see you any differently. Because in front of God, there is no king and there is no. Wonderful culture, right? So this is the quality, Shishya. So Arjuna said, I am your Shishya, I am surrendering to you. Please teach me. It is said that nobody can teach another person unless he is ready for it. You may tell everything to your child, but if he is not ready, nothing will go in. Even for you. How many things your parents said, right? At that time, we won't listen. Nothing will go in. So unless we are ready, nobody can teach anybody. That's a fact. So Arjuna is ready. So this is, I would pick this as one of the 18 verses. Means we'll pick 18 verses throughout the Gita, right? So this is the first one. Karpanya dosho pahata subhava prischami tvam dharma sammudha cheta. This is anybody's problem. I'm an ordinary person. There are situations in life, I don't know what to do. I'm confused terribly. So at that point of time, I know that I'm helpless. I need to surrender to a teacher. So this is the point. One of the most important words in the Gita. Arjuna is able to state himself clearly the nature of his troubles. One is, this is the exact language used by Nataraja. I just copied his verse. Look at the commentary. It's so brilliant. He tells the negative state of mind has overtaken me. Second thing is what? My intelligence is clouded. I cannot make a choice. I'm capable. That doesn't mean that I'm not capable of making a choice. But at this pressure, at this situation, I'm not capable. So what? He realized his helplessness and surrendered to the most qualified teacher in the world with a right attitude. This is brilliantly explained in this verse. So let's go. So the way out is, these are the 4 things highlighted. Be aware of the problem. I have a problem. 2, be aware of the mental condition. My mental condition is not in a place to solve that problem. 3rd is discover the helplessness. 4th is seek help from a qualified teacher. Approach the teacher with an open-mindedness and commitment.
Humbly.
This is what the solution is. This is what this verse highlights. Brilliant, right? When you read Gita, these verses may not be highlighted like this earlier, right? This is, you have to understand the beauty of that verse. This is the
Nahi prapashyami mamapanudyat yacchokamuccoshanamindriyanam avapya bhumavasapatnamriddham rajyam suranam api chadhipatyam. Sanjaya uvacha evamukva hrishikesham gudakeshah parantapa nayotsya iti govindam uktva tushnim babhuvaha.
So Arjuna asked Krishna to help, and he just restate the problem one thing. He said I do not see anything can remove my sorrows, right? Why I'm waging this war? I'm waging this war for a kingdom. He tells, even if I get this kingdom unrivaled, even if I get the most prosperous kingdom in the world, unrivaled kingdom in the world, I do not think that my sorrow will go away. Like what he is pursuing, he said that even if the best outcome he gets, I'll be in terrible pain. So I'm confused. He's that unrivaled, prosperous over earth and mastery over even gods. Even if I get the Devaloka, I'll not be happy. He tells my problem. So now, naturally, just like Mahabharata, Arjuna then he became silent. So at that point of time, somebody has to give us the narration, the dramatization of the Mahabharata. The scene shifted to Sanjaya. Brilliant, right? So he tells Sanjaya Uvacha, Eva Muktva Rishikesham. Look at the word, we saw the word Rishikesha earlier, the Lord of sense organs, the one who has control over the situation, right? After saying this much to Rishikesha, who is capable of solving it, Guthakesha Parantapa. Arjuna was used 2 names. Guthakesha means what?
One who has conquered sleep.
Sleep, meaning one who can work. He is not a lazy person who fall flat. If a lazy person fall flat, we know that it is an excuse, an escape route of the situation. He cannot. He's a hard-working person. He has control over the sleep, meaning he can hard work anything. And Parantapa, he is a warrior. Parantapa means, Tapa means burning, scorcher of all the enemies. He's a wonderful warrior. He fall flat. Then what? Nayotsya iti Govindam. Oh Govinda, we saw that who is Govinda the other day. I won't fight, oh Govinda. Uktva tushnim, he into a very sad state or a emotionally like a silent state after speaking this much. So now a big job in front of Krishna to re-educate Arjuna. So that's what it is. So we will see that from the first week of January. So